I'm Julian. I've been playing tennis for 45 years and I'm a hacker.
Hi, I'm Sue. I've been playing tennis for 30 years and I'm a baseline grinder with volleying aspirations.
Hi, my name's Austin. I've been playing tennis for 15 years and I like to try and finish the point off at the net.
I actually felt reasonably in control, but as with all Wilson rackets, if you hit the ball in the centre of the racket, right in the sweet spot, you gain about 10% harder. So getting used to that way of hitting a ball again, as I used to play with Wilsons years ago, you just got to get used to that feel.
So normally I find Wilson's quite stiff. That is quite stiff, feels quite solid to hit with, but actually when you get it out the centre, it was a nice hit. The ball seemed to fizz off quite nicely with lots of spin on it, yeah.
Yeah, it felt really solid from the baseline. I thought the racket was slightly stiff, but it wasn't as stiff as I expected it to be. I think the old blade feels more stiff than this one, so I felt this one felt a little bit nicer from the baseline, yeah.
The racket feels quite heavy in my hand, but actually I found it felt quite solid for the volley behind the ball. So the ball was, yeah, coming off the racket really nicely and just solidly crisp, I'd say. Yeah, nice. Smashing, I found again, the weight of the racket felt heavy when I was taking it back, but actually when I hit the ball, it was okay. But getting it up there, it felt a little bit of an effort.
Yeah, it felt nicer than that actually. I felt like, because the racket was slightly stiff, I wasn't overshooting my volleys. I was getting good depth on them, especially when they came out the centre. If they went out the centre, it was not as good, but when I was getting the timing right, they felt really nice, yeah. Yeah, smash was okay. The power was slightly harder to create. I felt I had to work slightly harder to create the power, but when I did, the outcome was nice, yeah.
The same thing. So I quite like volleying, I'm quite consistent with volleys, and you've got to get the ball out of the centre of the racket. You get the ball out of the centre of the racket, the ball goes exactly where you want it to go. Out of the middle with smashes, it's perfect. The ball comes off the strings beautifully. When you're not out of the middle, then the ball dies a little bit and it's not a full smash. So relatively speaking, you've just got to make sure the technique's tidy so that you can hit the ball out of the centre of the racket.
Worked really hard to get the power. If I wasn't getting the knees and the legs going, the power just wasn't coming. It wasn't helping me create the power. The kick serve felt nice, not as easy to create spin. Like I said, I think maybe because of the string pattern slightly smaller, I found the spin slightly harder to create.
More power. Again, I think if you can get the ball in the centre of the racket, you get more power. The spin, I need to play with it a little bit just to get a feel of how to get the spin more, but initially the ball comes off, for me, initially the ball comes off slightly flat until you start to let go a little bit.
So spin, I'm not sure how much spin I put on my serve, but for power it felt the same as I would normally hit. I didn't feel any extra power with this racket.
Yeah, I think it suits it in some ways. I think the volleys it really suited. I felt like the volleys were really easy to hit my spots with, but maybe the ground strokes were slightly harder as I was struggling to create power on my ground strokes. Maybe the approach I would find slightly more difficult, but I think if I was working hard and getting my ground strokes going, I think it could do, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I can get the ball in the centre of the racket, then I've got control, but I've also got another 10%, which gives me a little bit more on the ball. So yes, I can play with this quite well, but I would need to be out of the centre of the racket playing with it, so I need to be used to playing with it.
Personally, I think being a little bit older, I think it feels quite heavy in my hand. So I think it suits that style of play definitely, but I think for an older player it might make your arm ache a little bit after a while. So yeah, I think I'd need something just that feels a little bit softer in my hand.
Yeah, two-tone, we're back. Mods are back, that's what I say. Yeah, it's nice. Top-end Wilson racket with the two-tone design on it. I think it looks quite smart.
It's not bad, it's a bit dull. Yeah, doesn't make me feel joyful.
Yeah, I really like the new colour scheme. I think it's much nicer than the old one. I think the way the racket sort of changed colour in the light is really nice. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it actually.
I think it compares the same as most other rackets actually, so yeah, it's a fair price for all the top rackets in the market, so yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fair price. I mean, it's a top of the range racket. I think, yeah, I'd be happy to pay that price for this racket.
Top end Wilson's that's a fair price for it. Yeah, in comparison to other makes and other prices of other manufacturers, top end Wilson, you'll be paying 245, yeah.